Hi, I'm Milton Rendell and welcome to Real News Friday. A week's a long time in real estate and it's certainly a long time in an economy with COVID. So we've certainly seen a few changes and we're feeling the changes within our offices, as I have been also talking to other businesses who are saying something similar. So today I'll just go through some statistics and give you some feedback on some other things. First thing, last week sales were 992, up 1%. Stock levels in West Australia 8,106. That's down about 2% on where we were a week ago, up 1% to where we were a month ago, and down 1% a year ago. So same conversations previous. This seems to be the level we're at currently. Now, the rental market's been an interesting one. So there were 639 rentals last week, but the stock level's up by 22% this week, but still down 17% on 12 months ago. So it's a real mixed message. Last week's leasing were down about 22%. Now, one would suggest that possibly that could be the shock of some of the announcements of COVID, and I think we're going to see probably 2 to 3 weeks of adjustment as WA economy and the people of West Australia trying to work out what direction this government is leading us on or in terms of COVID. So this is where I get back to talking local businesses. I wanted into a number of businesses this week. There's two factors that people consider why it's quieter this week. One, obviously kids going back to school could be one of them. The second one is basic COVID. I'm talking to guys who have got lunch bars and places like that, and they have seen up to 50 to 60% drop in people coming into their shops. One is resistance to the app and not proving the certificate for the vaccinations. A number of them don't even know how to read the app, or they don't know how to load the app. A lot of some strange things are being presented. So there's a bit of frustration out there, and when with frustration, people tend to give up and not do anything at all. And that's what I think we're seeing in the hospitality industry. And I look at probably an example over the weekend. I drove past the old Woody in Guildford, and that's the quietest I've ever seen it. So I think we're going to see a little bit of that over the next couple of weeks while we, the people of WA, try and sort out what direction we're supposed to be going in terms of how we deal with the adjustments the government has now given us now. And then again, how long will that last? We don't know. So now, from a real estate point of view, and just talking to our officers, we have seen in the past week since the announcement of the latest adjustments by the government, we have seen our inquiry rates and phone calls into our offices down between 40 to 50%. I'm still thinking it could be part because of the schools going back, but the second part would definitely be because of what's happened with the announcements of the COVID. I think people are confused and frustrated, and it's all understandable. And look, I don't blame any individual for that. I just think when it comes to change, it takes time to get used to it. And the other thing, keep in mind, there was a large expectation that coming into February 5th, which would have been the end of this week, that we had a pretty clear pathway, where now it appears we don't, and I think there'll be a lot of fine-tuning happening in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Hopefully in 2 to 3 weeks we'll all have a handle on it and understand it. Sales are still occurring. We don't seem to be talking to as many people thinking or willing to sell. Someone asked me the other day, where do I think the challenges of our market are? I said it's probably the simplest one to explain is there's properties not coming to the market because the retirement rates of individuals are less. I'm hearing far less people talking about retirement. Why? Well, they can't do anything. I mean, you think about why would you retire? If you can't travel, if you can't do a lot of things, why would you retire? You continue to work. So that's one. Second one is that with the marketplace, you got to remember when people retire, they generally downgrade or funds start moving through our economy. We don't have people downgrading, so therefore new stock isn't coming to the market. What stock has been coming to the market, which has been an aggressive part of our market, a number of people, I've talked about it before, are starting to cash in their assets that were investors. And if I look at the last dozen sales of investment properties sold, they haven't been in majority to investors. In fact, there's only about 9 of the 12 sales which were investment properties are now owner occupiers. So that's 9 rentals that have come out of our marketplace just here. So you do that across all the agencies and throughout the whole state, we're going to see this sort of lag or shortage continue for some time. So we may still see this continuation, which will continue to drive rents up until we see this adjustment. And people don't talk about it. They're talking about lack of people to work, etc. Because we don't have the flow of population through our state, this is obviously a problem, and this will probably continue. And who knows? I mean, I'm hoping by June 30 it'll sort itself out. Our marketplace is still buoyant. Yes, you can still get good prices, and the inquiry is still there. But I still think there's a few things on the horizon that we don't know where we're going. Like I say, I still think our market will continue through to 2023, as I have in every one of our recent videos. But I think there's a few little things, a few little tangents we may go on in the coming weeks. So let's see where it goes. Hopefully some of the stuff I'm talking about I'm wrong. But I do think there will be a little bit more frustration, particularly finding rentals. There was a case reported of assault. There's been several property managers now being assaulted by potential tenants, either trying to get it or ones have been evicted, etc. So there's a bit of anger out there, and that's a concern in itself. But once again, this is a byproduct of COVID. If the tenants can't relocate, they start getting aggressive, etc., etc. So it's a real catalyst to a number of other issues and social issues, which probably something we don't talk about. But I think they need to be tabled out there and discussed. Last thing I would mention today, for those who are entering into contracts with a seller or a buyer, there are now COVID clauses we add to our contracts now, which is Real Estate Institute of WA have issued us. It's just in case you or the purchaser, say if you're a seller, you may contract COVID, which then obviously delays you, or you may have to go into isolation, which may restrict you from doing the things you need to do, e.g. vacate your house on a particular date, e.g. can't get to the bank to sign documents, e.g. can't get a settlement agent to sign documents. So there may be things that delay settlements, and these clauses are to deal with this in the best interest of both the buyer and the seller, because otherwise it will incur penalties. So these clauses are being added into the contract, so don't be stunned if you are asked or told that's going to be one of the conditions on your contracts. It's to protect you as either the buyer or the seller in case a COVID situation occurs, especially to isolation, and more importantly if you contract it. So don't be scared of it. It's just being added into contracts now. Most won't be discussing it, but something you need to have an awareness going forward. Anyway, all the best, and look forward to speaking to you next time. Check out realestateplus.com.au.